Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I know this is a little bit late to be doing the best books of 2022, but I kind of didn't really plan out. I don't plan like schedule my content when it comes out. I just kind of do it when I am motivated to do it. So now is when you're gonna finally get the best books I read in 2022 and the least best I read in 2022. And I read 67-ish books last year altogether, so I know most people do like their top 10 and their bottom 10 and whatever. I just kind of picked books that still are stuck with me even now. Books that I maybe want to read again at some point. And then books that all of my least best books, well, two of them I didn't even I read them on Kindle, and then one of them I unhauled already. So, and then I have one honorable mention. So we're gonna get started with we'll do least best first. We'll end on a higher note. Excuse you. I only have 3 least best books of the year. Now I could probably have had more, but these are the ones that like I don't want to say hated, but I like really disliked, and then or that are kind of like why I don't even know why I read this, because it was pointless. So the first one is gonna be The Secret by Julie Garwood. I have a whole vlog reading this where I was like, it's a booktube favorite by people. A lot of booktubers love it. I did not. I was very upset and I didn't get the hype surrounding it. I didn't like the way the author wrote. I didn't like the heroine. I mean, there was a whole lot of other stuff I didn't like about it, which I go more in depth in that vlog. So I'll link that either up in the cards or down in the description down below. I was not impressed, and I had no interest in reading any other books by the author, so I unhauled the author completely, which was I think Julie Garwood, because I had tried to read something else by her. I read a contemporary by her. I think Wired is one of her like ops. I don't know, it was like a millionth in the series, and I again was bored with that. I DNF'd it. I wasn't impressed by it, and I read that a couple summers ago. So I think just she's not an author for me, and The Secret, so like the plot for The Secret, like the whole thing of it was there. I just didn't like the way it was executed, and I didn't like the writing style. So that's one of my least best and probably one of my most disappointing reads of the year. The next one is going to be Center Mass by Lanny Lynn Vale. This one I barely even remember. I think this is the one, I don't even know. He's like special ops person. I don't even remember who the heroine is. I don't even remember this book, let me tell you. I think this is also the one that was like a spin-off of another series. So like there was an event that happened. There was a scene that happened in this book that also happened in a different book, but you're seeing it from another perspective, like a whole different series. And I'm just like, I don't want to have to read an entire previous series to have to understand what's going on in a new, like it was the first book in a new series. I like having like little Easter eggs of like old characters in previous series or previous books coming in and making appearances, but like if it has to do with something that already happened and like in a different series or a different book and you kind of have to like know about it, I'm just like, it's better if the author if the author gives you some kind of explanation, like this is what happened in this book, so you don't necessarily need to read the other books to read this one. But I mean, I do like interlocking series, but I like to know that ahead of time, essentially. And then the final least best of 2022 is going to be Outlaw's Kiss by Nicole Snow. Another one that I was just like, it was the heroine. I remember this one was the one, the heroine was super fucking annoying. And she did the thing that I hate when heroines do, where they, like, something happens and the hero tells her, don't bother, don't put yourself in danger like that, like stay here, I'm gonna take care of it. And they say, well, they go off on their own and do it anyway, and then they end up getting themselves in trouble and the hero has to save them because of their own stupidity. That is what pisses me off, and this is exactly what the heroine did in this book, and I'm like, you're fucking dumb. So that really irritates the hell out of me. It's different if they do that and then they don't need to be saved is one thing. If they can save themselves, they get themselves out of the situation. Or if they end up saving the hero because the hero fucked up and got himself kidnapped or trapped or whatever, that's different. But when the heroine does something dumb, it pisses me off. Okay, now we're gonna go into the best books of 2022, and I think I have 6. And I think most of them I actually still have physical copies of because I enjoyed them so much that I wanted to have them in person. Now, the first, or not in any kind of really order other than what I'm picking up, the final book I'm going to mention was absolutely my favorite book I 100% read last year. So we're going to do that one last. But one of the so these are all 5-star reads, but not all of my 5-star reads that I read last year made it to this list, if that makes sense. Because just because they're a 5-star read and I really enjoyed them doesn't mean that they're still, you know, living in my head rent-free, or books that I would maybe want to reread again. I just really enjoyed them at the time and hyped them at the time. So the first one I'm going to say is This Is War Baby by Kay Webster. This one, I've talked about this in several videos before. I read it fairly early on last year, so there's still general pieces of it that I don't 100% remember, but there are very specific scenes and moments in this book that definitely stick with me. War especially has my heart. I love him so much. I was a little bit more disappointed in the sequel to this, so we're not going to really mention that one, but the first one had me totally captivated, and I did not want to put this book down at all. Definite 5-star, probably 6-star, but it got me into reading Kay Webster. And this does have, it's a human trafficking element, like her father's best friend / their neighbor kidnaps her in order to sell her, and he sells her at this grand auction to Warren, who has, because of events that happened in his past, he has like she's like a germaphobe. He doesn't like to be touched. He likes everything to be, he's like OCD, everything has to be spotless. He does like a accounting thing, and it's just, he wants, you know, like a companion and someone to, you know, kind of help him get through this stuff. You guys, it wasn't exact at all what I expected this book to be. The first beginning of it is definitely very much human trafficking. She's being trained to be like a sex slave. And then when she's finally bought by our hero, the whole book changes, completely changes dynamic, and I in love with it so much. The next two are by the same author. The first one being Waking Olivia by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This one was a book that took a turn I did not expect it to take, and it took a very dark turn that I was surprised by and that I actually appreciated, because originally we were going into it, it's like, okay, yes, he's her coach, she's the student. I mean, it's college, so it's not like it's high school. At least she's like this big track star who gets kicked out of her D1 school and gets drafted by this other like lesser school, D3 school or something, and the coach is like not impressed by her at all because she's always late, she's always tired, and it's just like it doesn't seem like she's putting in a lot of effort, like she's taking the whole position for granted, and like she thinks she's hot shit and she's like really not. And then he finds out the reason why, because she sleep runs, because she has these night terrors from events that happened in her past, and we get to see what happened to her and what things that have happened. Very, very dark. Very, very dark, and did not expect that going into this. So it was like a startling surprise, but I was not mad about it. I was like, oh, like, okay, like she went there. So this was absolutely a 5-star, 6-star book. Loved it so much. Also highly recommend it. It's very good. And then the other Elizabeth O'Rourke, who L. O'Rourke actually is her pen name, is Parallel. This one I have to read. I have the second book up there and I really need to read it because there's like, it's a duet, and then there's a second duet that follows a different couple in like the same world. But this one is like time travel and soulmates, and it's just like you end this book having some idea of what's going on, but still not 100% like the whole story of what is happening and why. But oh my god, this book was just so intriguing. I did not want to put it down. So we have, I don't remember names. Sorry, Quinn and Nick. Okay, so Quinn is our heroine who's engaged to this guy. And then as she's looking at wedding venues, she gets like this weird, at first she thinks it's like deja vu, like she's been here before. And then she realizes it's not like a feeling. It's like she's definitely is having like memories of things that have happened at this specific place. And when she passes out and hits her head and goes to the hospital, and then her doctor, who is Nick, it's this Nick that she's been dreaming about since she was a kid, and like they're married and like they have this whole history together, and people always thought she was crazy. Like her mom would take her to like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and eventually, you know, she stopped having like these dreams and memories of him because they were like, who is this guy that like you're married to and have this whole life with? And then she meets him, and then he doesn't have like the same vivid memories as her, but he definitely feels an attraction to her, like, and like he knows her and he can't figure out why or how. And it's a wild book. There's some kind of like sinister thing that has happened to her, and it's really, really interesting. So also highly recommend this book too. The next one is gonna be, I'm gonna make sure I do this one because I don't have it physically in front of me. And that is Don't Kiss the Bride by Carrie Cole. This book is one of the things I love in age gaps, because it is an age gap. He is, I think he's a mechanic or something like that, and she is like a 17, 18-year-old girl who has a really terrible home life. Like her mom is a hoarder. I forget what happened with her dad, but her mom's like a hoarder to the point where she doesn't even go into like the main part of the house unless she has to. She uses her bedroom window as her door to get in and out. She can't even, she can't use the bathroom in the house because there's just so much shit in there they can't use it. So she uses like the gym. I think she has a gym membership, or she uses the bat shower at the school to shower and wash, and then she uses the cat litter as a toilet. And she has a car. Her car breaks down, and I think Jude is our hero's name. He helps her out, and then when he learns about her home life, and she also has an eating disorder, so he offers to marry her in order to get her on his health insurance, so that way she can get the help she needs in the form of like healthcare, as well as, you know, get some mental health care, because she did have to get some kind of prescription medication for her eating disorder, I believe, or her anxiety or something like that. There was a lot of like issues that she was having. It's a very, very slow burn. Like he's very like hands off, like I'm just here to help you out. Like this is not gonna be anything serious, but of course feelings develop, and it's really good. I highly recommend this book. I love it so much. I am trying to get a physical copy of it at some point to have on my shelves, because I'll definitely read it again. But I did listen to it on audio, and it was really well done. The second to last one we have is Reaper by Asa Varelli. I also have I think I have a reading vlog for most of these. I did them in like my weekly vlogs. I don't know, I haven't done weekly vlogs yet this year. I don't know if I'm going to continue with them. I'm going to do like specific vlogs. Like I'm going to read like the Fallen Men series. I'm going to do a vlog for that and like stuff like that. I'm going to try to do like more of like genre trope vlogs and see how that works out. This is the second book of the, is it Boston Underworld series? What the hell is this called? I don't know which series it is. Boston Underworld? Is that what I want to say it's called? Anyway, it's Irish Mafia. This is Sasha and Ronan, and oh my god, I loved this one. I know she's a stripper, I believe, for the club from the first book. And he is I think he's like the mafia, the syndicates. He's like their hitman, like the guy that kills everybody. But he's got also another very dark past. He grew up in like a very, I don't want to say conservative. What do you call it? Extremist. He was raised in a very, extreme situation where like the children were taken from their parents at a young age and raised in like this, compound, and it was either kill or be killed sort of thing. If you couldn't hack it, there were children dying because they couldn't take it, and they couldn't, they would like succumb to everything that was. Anyway, he had a very dark past, very tragic past. He kills somebody for her, and it's a big hush hush thing. And this has one of my favorite tropes in it. I know a lot of people hate the trope, but it's one of my favorites in here. And for this is when I love it, because this is a situation where it's like, I want to tell you what it is. It's a surprise pregnancy trope. There's a surprise pregnancy trope in this. I know some people hate it, so I'll tell you ahead of time in case you don't care. But it's just because it's one of these situations where he doesn't think that he's capable of being a good father. He doesn't want children because of the way he was raised. And then she ends up getting pregnant, and it's just like, you just want to see how wrong he is. And I like it. So now we're, last but not least, the pièce de résistance of my 2022 reading. And if you haven't guessed already, it's Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. And I realized I probably should have picked up my other copy. This is the Mystic Box Special Edition that we got in the September-October box, I believe. This book, you guys, is one of my absolute favorite books. It lives in my head rent-free all the time. It's so good. It's very, very dark, especially the first like 100-ish pages. because this is sister's fiance trope. So we have Cora and Dean, and Dean is Cora's sister's fiance. They're at her sister's birthday party. She, instead of catching a ride with everybody else, she wants to go home by herself. But her purse is stolen, or something is stolen. I forget exactly what it is. And she needs a ride. So she tries to call around, get people to come pick her up. No one's answering the phone because they're all probably drunk and passed out. So the only person that answers is Dean. And they are mortal enemies. They have always been enemies for years. And he's like, okay, well, I'll come get you. I'm not going to leave you like stranded. So he picks her up. And then as they're driving home, they get pulled over by the police. It's not really a cop. And they end up getting kidnapped together. And their kidnapper is like he's a serial killer that makes his victims fall in love with each other before he kills them in front of each other. And so they are forced, this is on page, everything that happens in this book is on page. So there is rape scenes in here, there's all kinds of stuff in here from the, like, horrible things happen to her, they're forced to do horrible things together. They do eventually escape, which is why I say like the first 100 pages are very, very dark. It's still dark throughout the rest of the book. Like there is suicide attempts and there is kind of a miscarriage. If you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And there's just a lot of dark things that happen, but it's so, like, I cried, I bawled when this book was done. I just sat in the chair and just cried over it because it is just so emotionally heavy. Like, yes, the action, the beginning part is them kidnapped, and then once they escape, it's the aftermath and them trying to figure out how to, like, come back to the real world and how to move on with their lives. But they're so, like, codependent on one another now because they're all each other has that can understand what they went through. And it's just, this book is just amazing, like so amazing. And I need to read more by Jennifer Hartman. I do have Lotus that I still have to read. It's up there, you can't see it, it's not in frame, but there's so many books. I want to read her new books, The Pessimist's Guide to Love and The Optimist's Guide to Heartbreak. I think those are swapped, but those are her new books coming out. Like, and then there's another dark one that she has that she's been teasing that I'm really, really eager to get a hold of because it's kind of like the similar vein as this. Y'all, I cannot scream enough. I need to read more Jennifer Hartman, like, ASAP. I have so many books I want to read, but like really, really, I need to read. Okay, so those are my favorite books of 2022. Still Beating is absolutely #1 so far, hands down. Then I have the one honorable mention, because I don't know how I feel about this book. It sticks with me. I didn't rate it on Goodreads because I didn't know how to rate it, because the content in it is very, very taboo, forbidden, triggery. Like, this is a banned book. I'm just gonna show up. It's The Wild by Kay Webster, which I read this one, and this is War Baby in my Kay Webster reading vlog, so I'll link that up as well if you want to check that out. But this is a book about incest. This is father-daughter incest, which I've never read before, but I was curious about because, like, I'm someone that things don't bother me. The only things that really do bother me are, like, animal abuse. Like, there's an animal abuse scene in Waking Olivia. Like, it's there, but there's one there that I just kind of, like, I knew it was, you can see it coming, and I was just like, no, I don't want this to happen. But anyway, incest is kind of like, I don't get triggered by things. It's like, okay, that's like, yeah, that's gross, but like, it's a book. Whatever. So like we have it's a family of 3. It's a mother, daughter, and the husband. And then I think she had a brother that died. And when the brother died, like, the mother spiraled into, like, this deep depression. But the father was just like, no matter what he did, he could not seem to help his wife get out of this funk. So he decides to sell his, like, multi-million-dollar company or whatever the hell he has and buy a huge plot of land in, I don't know if it was Alaska, but it's like Pacific Northwest somewhere. And they are going to build their house. They're going to live off the land, get off the grid. They get an RV. They're going to live in their RV until the house is built. The RV falls off a cliff. The mother dies. And then all of a sudden, which is very gruesome, by the way, there's a lot of body horror for that scene when they find the mother dead. So just know that there's a lot of, like, gruesome stuff that happens, and it's very on page and vivid. So it's just the husband and the daughter, like, trapped off this cliff, and then they are just trying to survive and go forward, and things happen, you know? It's just the way that things happen. Then they run into like these other like mountain people that live in the woods, that there's a rape on scene that happens. Yeah, so it's very, very dark. I understand why this one, I understand why it's banned, because of the crazy shit that happens in it. But it's not like, I didn't rate it because I felt like if I gave this a 5-star book, it'd be kind of like saying like I condone the content in this, which I don't necessarily, but like I was engaged. Like I wanted to know what was going to happen next, and it had me hooked. It had me invested. It had me going, what the fuck? Like, and that's what is a good book to me. Like it had me going, what the hell is going on? Like it had me want to keep reading what was going to happen. I did say the end of this, the heroine just annoyed the shit out of me, because there is a plot twist in this, which kind of made me annoyed, because I was like, why did you do it that way? I do want to read the sequel to this, which is The Free, because it's with another 2 other characters that were introduced in this one, and it's kind of like the opposite of how this goes. So if you read this, which I'm not gonna recommend it, especially if you're not okay with reading like incest stuff, but just for a like what the fuck kind of book, like what is going on, like it's very engaging. So I'm just gonna put it out there. Also, it was signed because I did get this off of her website. So she does have her banned book. She has a banned book bundle that you can buy. So I got the bundle, but yeah. So that was a ride. Last year was a ride for reading, guys. Like I read more books last year than I have ever since starting the Goodreads, at least twice as much. I think I've read like 30 some most years. I read twice that. And I'm not mad about it, and I'm very happy because I got to read a lot of stuff that I've been itching to read. This year I'm hoping it's gonna be another one of those years, because I have so many. I have all my Mystic Box stuff I want to read. I have a whole shit ton of Gianna Darling backlist. I found a bunch of small town romance authors, Catherine Cowles and Devney Perry, and there's some Candy Steiner I want to read, some more dark romance. Maybe I'll get to some Pan Godwin finally this year. Like there are so many. I have so many plans, you guys. I have so many plans. It's just a matter of whether I get to them or not. So okay, that's gonna be it for this video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys loved and hated in 2022, what you're most excited to read in this year, 2023. And that's it. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.